is to bring together the environmental movement and the workers' movement. Because if they're separated, if the choice is either jobs or the environment, that is no choice at all.
So this recent video has just emerged thanks to Twitter account Eric Blanc. He shared this old video of Bernie Sanders, and it's going to lead into a larger discussion here about the Green New Deal and how the Sunrise Movement has recently scored the top 3 candidates on their climate plans. So let me get to this. So this is from 1991. 1991, Bernie Sanders talking essentially about climate change, but not even just about climate change, but about how it needs to be addressed. Watch.
The truth of the matter is, I think, that unless we move radically and boldly, as you indicate, we may lose the planet for our grandchildren. Interestingly enough, I think, and I say this not because I want it to be that way, but I think it is that way, you're not going to deal effectively with the environmental crisis unless you deal with the economic crisis at the same time. They're the same issues. And a lot of people who are, environmental, boy, this factory is polluting, close it down. But what happens to the workers who are going out on the street? Not my concern. I'm concerned about the environment. This farmer is using a pesticide, close it down. But what happens to... What we have got to do is to understand the challenge, the real challenge, is how do you have a social system and an economy which does at least 2 things. Number one, it provides decently for its people at the same time as it does not destroy the environment. That's what you've got to do. That's why national health care is an environmental issue, because that takes an enormous burden off the backs of working people. So the argument is either we have, and how many cities in America are faced with this dilemma? Mayors, are faced with this dilemma. Here you have a factory which is polluting, it's poisoning its own workers, and the option is either you throw those workers out on the street or you save the environment. That is not a choice that we should have to make in 1991. The challenge that we face is, okay, how do you have a social system which provides educational opportunity, health care, etc. to its people, have an economic system which is producing what we need without destroying the environment. But the challenge here, and I think, and I applaud people like Jesse Jackson and others who are trying to do this, is to bring together the environmental movement and the workers' movement. Because if they're separated, if the choice is either jobs or the environment, that is no choice at all.
This is incredible. I mean, every time, when I think I've hit the bottom of the barrel when it comes to, seeing every single old Bernie video, I see a new one that surprises me again. Not only here is he talking about climate change in 1991, but he's talking about the need to combine it with the workers' movement. How this needs to be looked at as, not just an environmental issue, but a socioeconomic issue, bringing everything into it, healthcare into it, workers' rights into it. So he's applied this as well, this thinking to obviously his platform. So in addition to supporting Medicare for all, as he touches on healthcare in that video, his Green New Deal plan, this is the reason why it is the most comprehensive plan out of everybody, because he takes care of the workers. So if you're just, a worker, a blue-collar worker, you're working for a fossil fuel company, you just, you go to your job, you have a job, you go to your job every day, you come home, that's your life. If you lose your job because of this transition away from fossil fuels, under Bernie Sanders' Green New Deal plan, you are given full pay for 5 years. In addition to taking care of your retirement, if you're on the edge of retirement, they worry about that, they take care of that. They also have job training, so you can, work in a renewable energy field, potentially get training for that to transition off the fossil fuel industry. So they are taking a comprehensive approach. If you're just your average worker in a fossil fuel company, you will be taken care of. So he applies this thinking that, again, he had back in 1991 to his plan today. Imagine if politicians were like, all of them were like this in 1991. We wouldn't even be talking about climate change right now because it would already be dealt with. But he was like the lone voice talking about this back then. Just unbelievable. Now, let me go to, so the Sunrise Movement, sort of an offshoot of this. They have their scorecards here of each of the top 3 candidates' climate change plan. So you can see here, grading them, Bernie has an A minus, which is amazing to me. I mean, it shows you, it really shows you. People say, "Oh, Bernie, your plan is too far." He has an A minus. It's not even like an A plus. He has an A minus, yet his plan is too far. So A minus, but clearly the highest here with 91.5%. Warren gets a B minus at 82.5%. Biden, F minus, 37.5%. Parent-teacher conference time. I love it. Sunrise Movement is doing a lot of fantastic things, including this today, the climate strike. So as I tweet out here, it's Climate Strike Day. We're striking from school and work to sit in at the offices of establishment politicians nationwide, demanding they champion the Green New Deal and sign the Green New Deal pledge, and show that we'll vote them out if they don't. Join us. Great work here. It's really incredible how far this the climate change conversation has been moved since just a year ago. I mean, I would say Greta Thunberg is a big piece of that. Here was just a student protesting to do something about climate change, and then a year and a half later, there's this massive movement. All these young people are engaged. Sunrise Movement gets involved. Other movements are involved. It's incredible. This is what is required to put pressure on politicians to actually get something done. And a lot of these students, hopefully, are of voting age or getting towards voting age, and will be able to, make their decision in the primary, and are more engaged in politics, and are at least able to vote this time if they weren't able to vote 4 years ago. So, if they come out to vote in big numbers, you're going to see a primary that is a lot different than the one that we saw in 2016.